Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and of course this is going to be the second part of the introduction to my 2008 Jeep Wrangler. Of course, if you didn't watch the first video, go check that out before this one, but I do have a little bit of update before I'm going to get into the actual video I was intending to put on here. Is that in my last video I was being a little bit cryptic about the soft top for my Jeep. Well, in the time that has passed since, I actually have a little bit of an update, and that is actually because I got a new one. And what you guys can see here is I ordered the Quadratop Adventure S series, and basically what this is one of the fold back frameless soft top. So it's got kind of the fastback style. Now of course what that is going to do, being a frameless soft top, is that is going to eliminate all the hardware that goes around the Jeep to hold the soft top on. But without further ado, I'm going to get to the video that is the second half of my Jeep introduction video, of course. That video being the explanation of why I got the Jeep and my history of the Jeep. And then at some point in time in the very near future, I'm going to do an install video on that Quadratop. So I decided I'm going to finish the rest of this vlog out on the road. Park started to get kind of busy, school's out now and all that. But now the reason that I ended up getting this 2008 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited is, it's not really a long story, but it's an interesting story. Out of high school, I had gotten a Ford Bronco, and it kind of led me into my love of four-wheel drive vehicles. Nobody in my family ever had trucks. It was always cars, and the second I had, for the first time ever had a truck, especially the four-wheel drive in the winter, in 2007, I believe it was, I had it was a 2003 Dodge Stratus. It was the only car that I've ever bought new. I was a courier at the time. I got a lot of miles on it. I think I was up to almost 80,000 miles. It still had some value, and I decided I didn't want it anymore. And the four-door Wranglers had just come out, and I was like, hey, those things are really cool. So what I ended up doing was I had an older Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I had my Stratus. I ended up actually trading both of them in for a 2007 Wrangler Unlimited. So the one that I got, it was the Sahara model. It was literally just about the only four-door Wrangler that I could find in about 100 miles at the time. There was one actually down in, I looked at Extreme Jeep down in McHenry, Illinois, which actually was the color of this current one, the Red Rock color. And then it was kind of that dark, I wouldn't say military green, but like an evergreen color was here in Milwaukee. And I just figured that, you know what, between the two options, buying from the dealership here in Milwaukee made the most sense. And what I actually ended up doing was I leased it. And I know a lot of people kind of complain about, oh, you should never lease a car, you don't own it, and stuff like that. Well, I was buying more car than I should have afforded at the time, or, well, frankly, I could have afforded at the time, because the sticker price on it was $31,000, and there was no way I was going to be able to finance that. So because the Wranglers hold their value so well, I was actually able to lease it for a really good price with my trade-in. And I think I ended up somewhere around $300 a month for that lease. So the lease term that I had was, 12,000 miles a year, and it was going to be a 3-year lease, of course. So I could have gone longer, but to be honest with you, I did not feel comfortable leasing a vehicle that I would own off of warranty. So I didn't go with the 15,000 miles a year on the lease, because 12,000 would take me to the end of my lease term, and then it would be 36,000 miles. And I wouldn't have to worry about anything, needed not being on anything, any repairs or whatever that would come up not being covered by the warranty term. So needless to say, in 2010 my lease was up, and unfortunately I had to get rid of it, because at the time it held so much value that I just could not afford the financing payments to be able to keep the thing. So after that, for a couple years, I was Jeepless, and then I believe it was in 2013, I actually found a pretty cool 1988 Wrangler YJ. I bought it from a guy down in, just south of me, and down in Racine, I guess technically you would call it. And yeah, I mean, it was not pretty. Basically, all I can say is it was a rugged old Jeep. I mean, the stance was awesome. It had 32-inch tires, I think, equivalent on it. Yeah, it had the straight line 6, manual transmission, which of course was fun. Yeah, so I had that thing, and that thing was fun. I will not, I will not complain about it, other than the fact that it wasn't mechanically very reliable. But it got me through a couple harsh snowstorms, and I could not, for the life of me, get the thing started. Any winter storms that went through that were, dropped us down into like the negative 15 degrees, and it just wasn't having it. It was not going to start. So, but I had that thing for a while, and just decided that I had reached a point in my life where I could actually afford to get a nice Jeep again. So I started going on the hunt for a new Jeep, and I was very, very surprised. And the reason I was very surprised was because I couldn't believe that almost 10 years later, how much value the Wranglers held. It was pretty incredible. There were 2007s that had over 100,000 miles that people were asking 12, 13, 14,000 for. Now, I guess that's not unreasonable, but when, once I became a car owner, I was 16 years old when I got my first car. It was a pile of junk. It was like a little $1,300 car. You got a car that was 10 years old and had over 100,000 miles. I mean, to pay even over $10,000, to me, sounded crazy. But for some reason, the Jeeps just really hold their value, and I think that that's awesome. For instance, this one that I got, it's a 2008. It's got 85,000 miles on it. It is not perfect. It's got its flaws and everything. And I ended up working out a deal with the guy that I bought it from in Illinois for basically $17,000. I financed a good portion of it, and I did the rest out of cash. And yeah, so I've got a really good payment through my credit union. But if you would have told me a few years ago that I would own a vehicle that was 10 years old and pay over $10,000 for it, I never would have saw that happening. So it is pretty incredible when it comes to the Wranglers, how well they actually do hold their value in comparison to a lot of cars. And just to kind of elaborate on the point, was my 2003 Stratus. It was a 2-door SXT, kind of the sportier version, manual transmission and all that fun stuff. I bought it new, and I think it was somewhere around like 16,000, maybe 17 when you factored in everything. When I traded it in, 80,000 miles on it. It was only 5 years old, and I got $6 grand for it. So the Jeep that I have, whose sticker price was probably about 28 when it was new, maybe a little bit less, and in 10 years only lost about 30% of its value. That is kind of a unique situation in vehicles. You don't find that a lot. I know trucks hold their value, but when it comes to Wranglers, that's awesome. And that is part of the reason that I was able to finance that lease on the 2007 for basically so low, because I was pretty much, when my lease was up, it was going to be worth 70% of what it was when it was brand new. So yeah, now I have my 2008 Wrangler. I've had it for about a year. I looked at the Kelley Blue Book on it. It is still, I mean, I may have only lost like $500 in value in the last year of owning it. Of course, not putting a lot of miles on it will always help that. But it's still, they just hold their value. And I was looking at the 2011, 2012 because I know that they did have the newer interior, and it's amazing. I have a hard time finding one that doesn't have over 100,000 miles, you know, that's in anything close to what I would be willing to pay at this point in time. And finding one that's under $20,000 right now that's 5 years old, it's not happening. So I know vehicles are not an investment and should never be looked at it that way, unless you start getting into old classics and things like that, but that's a whole different thing. You're not investing in a vehicle when you buy one, because it is probably one of the most, you know, one of the most, a waste of money, I guess, if you want to say, because they're going to lose so much value while you own it that you can't look at it as anything but basically something that's a utility. I mean, something that you're spending money on to use, that you're going to use up, and you're not going to see a return on your money in any way, shape, or form. But when talking about a 10-year-old Wrangler that has basically only lost maybe half of its value so far, I'm not upside down on this thing at all, and I probably will never be, because it is currently not depreciating fast enough to lose that much money. And of course now my phone's ringing. So yeah, that's it's just kind of an interesting thing about the Jeep Wrangler. I love it. I love my last one. I hated giving up my lease. Originally the reason that I leased it was because I had gone through so many vehicles in the past that I just figured I didn't want to have to be committed to it for the long term, and the monthly payment was very, very appealing. And unfortunately, the only vehicle that I bought with the intention of not having to be committed to it is probably the one vehicle that I most regretted not keeping out of any of them that I've had over the years. So yeah, it's kind of funny how stuff like that ends up actually working out. It's pretty much, I can't necessarily say the short and the sweet, but that is definitely how I ended up where I am right now with this Jeep Wrangler. Now, of course, as we go into the future here, winter's coming.
Winter is coming.
My C4 Corvette is probably from December until late March not going to get a lot of action on my channel, and that's why I wanted to introduce you guys to my Wrangler, because if I'm going to be doing anything over the winter, it's going to be 4x4 snow stuff and little things, probably some repairs along the way. I do have a few things that I do want to do in the future. As I mentioned before, I'd like to get some of the Rubicon rims, but I more than likely will not be doing that until after winter, because mud terrain tires are terrible in the snow. I do want to get a better sounding exhaust. I've got some exhaust rattles that are coming from underneath I gotta find. Just a lot of little things. I do want to address those, the hinges, and get those things fixed up. And I am looking at a new top for the Jeep, and that'll be coming in a very, very soon. Will be coming in another video. I would at some point like to upgrade the headlights to LED, probably get some accessories, maybe update the sound system, you know, a few things like that, and just in general, you know, kind of make this Wrangler mine. I mean, if there's one thing that is inarguable about the Jeep Wrangler is the ability to customize it. I mean, the customization on these things are second to none. Any Jeep can basically be turned into almost anything, and anybody that has one can have almost unlimited options to make it theirs. And I think that actually was one of the one of the things that actually kind of attracted me to the Wrangler was the customization ability. I've always kind of, whenever I've had a car, I've always wanted to make it mine, and being able to have so many options out there to do that with the Wranglers is awesome. And we're gonna start that today, because I actually have one of the first modifications I'm actually going to be making. Now granted, that is kind of a lie, because I already did change this top, and I did put my my Rugged Ridge liners down, but this is actually, I guess, technically the first mod, second mod, I don't know, however you want to look at it. But one thing that I've always not liked about the Wrangler is the way the grille looks. So I picked up some of these cheap inserts. I think I actually got them on Prime Day, and I never got around to putting them in, but we're going to do that today, and we're going to change up the look of my Wrangler. Alright, so as I was saying, the one thing I don't like about the look of the Wrangler in the front here is, of course, I'm not complaining about the front, how the you know, the 7 slats, that traditional Jeep look. That is not what I'm complaining about. What I'm actually talking about is the fact that there's nothing there. I mean, when you look at this from the front, I'm sure when it's brand new, you know, it looks a little bit nicer, but over the years, with all the chips and everything that you pick up, it just, you see the radiator, you see the bugs that get stuck and all that. The thing, you know, it starts to turn white. And unfortunately, it just doesn't look nice. So I want to spruce that up just a little bit. It would help if I put them in the right way. All right, and there we have it. Now the nice thing about that is, from a distance, you can't really see the radiator through it. So I don't know about you guys. What do you think? I'm thinking about possibly getting the trim rings around the lights and down around the fog lights as well. So I think it would be a good look. But anyways, I guess that's technically the second mod is done for the Wrangler. So again, I thank you guys for watching this, and before we go, I got to do one thing with the Corvette. And of course, don't want to forget to put the registration's in the Corvette. Alright guys, again, thanks for watching, and I promise the next video is going to be about the Corvette. So as always, like, comment, subscribe. I thank you guys all for subscribing to my channel. It's been growing great. I think I'm almost to like 70 subscribers right now, which is awesome. I never would have figured that would have happened so fast. So yeah, I just want to keep the momentum going, and of course, want to try and get some Jeep fans in here. And don't worry, Corvette guys, it's coming. We got a lot more stuff. But anyways, we got plenty of time to go until the snow starts flying, and gonna have some fun with this thing until then. So again, thanks for watching.